How to estimate labor costs in construction. So in this episode, we're going to do a deep dive into all the complexities that go into estimating labor. So join me and let's jump in. So have you ever wondered how to estimate labor? Well, I have been a construction management college professor for over 20 years, but that's not where I got my experience how to estimate labor. No, I was in the ground, in the trench, just like some of you, and knew how long an 8-hour day was. So when you can use practical construction knowledge and being able to work through observation, you're going to be able to have a much clearer and better understanding of how to estimate labor. But until you do it yourself, I just want to let you know that I'm here to mentor you through this as we go through this next episode of how to accurately estimate construction labor. So, do you think estimating construction labor is complicated? Well, you would be right. So I'm telling you, this is probably one of the hardest aspects of estimation that you're going to run into. Now, it's not because of the fact that labor is difficult to understand how long it takes to do something. I think that somebody can look at an activity and determine how long it would take them personally to be able to achieve that activity. And in that moment, you can come up with a guesstimate that's somewhere between 2 to 10 hours off of what it might really take to do that work. Now, 2 to 10 hours isn't going to kill an estimate, but what we want to be able to do is narrow this down as accurate as possible so that we can make the best profit on our project. So in doing that, we need to understand the different types of labor that we're going to be estimating. Now, first is general labor. So in general labor, this is something where we're hoping that the individual does not need a lot of help or a lot of skill in order to be able to perform work on the job site. This could be cleanup, or this could be digging a trench, or it could be brooming off a slab on grade, which I know I've spent many months doing that, tendonitis in my shoulder to prove it. But just letting you know that general labor does not require any specific skill sets. Then we're going to have our skilled labor, and this comes in all different kinds. So we can have a carpenter, a plumber, an electrician. All of these are going to be skilled labor of individuals who have practical knowledge of specific tasks in the construction industry. Now, even in this separation of skilled labor, we have different levels within these disciplines. So you could be at a beginner level where you would see something like an apprentice or an internship. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you could have an experienced person who's going to be a journeyman. Now, these are often designated and identified through the criteria that a union puts together. But these are going to be the levels of experience that a person brings to the table when they are performing these different disciplines. Each of these different disciplines is going to have a dollar amount or rate that's going to be associated with their hourly work. And so that's what we're going to be able to use when we move forward in creating an estimate. Now, there is a difference between union work and non-union work. And it often is believed that those that are in the union have a structured program that allows them to be able to learn more about their skill through training programs and other shadow type of work that allows them to be able to observe and go through structured training. In this type of training scenario, they're going to be asked to achieve a certain grade on a level or a test that needs to be observed in order to determine their level of expertise. Often those that are non-union can be very good at what they do. They have just chosen a different route of how they want to accept money in their paycheck. And so it's important to be able to do an assessment of their work to identify what level of expertise they truly hold in their particular discipline. Something else that makes labor have more complexity when we are adding it into our estimates is understanding federal, state, and local work. And so whether or not this public bid is going to require a prevailing wage or whether it's going to have Davis-Bacon as a federal wage is going to be important for us to know and understand those different standards so we know where to look for information to get the hourly rate for that particular discipline and how that may apply over the progression of our job. So many times these types of jobs are negotiated with raises in the middle of the year, and so your particular job might end up crossing one of these boundaries. And if it is heavy into carpentry during that particular season and somehow they get a $2 raise, then you're going to have a lot of carpenters with a $2 raise per hour during a significant portion of work that still remains to be completed. So it's very important to know and understand all of these different criteria when developing costs for labor estimation. One of the other things that we need to take into consideration when we're doing labor estimation is something called productivity rate. So the productivity rate is really just understanding how much work somebody can do in an hour. With that hour, we need to see whether or not there are designated breaks that are required during that particular hour. So a laborer may have a 60-minute hour that really is only having productivity performed for 45 minutes because they get a 15-minute break. So in that observation, we would understand the amount of work that that individual performs during those 45 minutes is how much we can expect for an hour of wage. One of the other things that we need to be able to pay attention to are the contingencies in our labor costs. We don't want surprises to happen, but they happen all of the time. And so if we can have this preventative mechanism and tool in our toolbox, we can use contingency as an opportunity to balance any type of labor fluctuations that might happen on our project. I'll just tell a short story about how you have to explain the hourly rate or cost of your labor to an owner or client. So when I had my construction company, I've got a Class A general engineering contractor's license, I had an administrative assistant. That administrative assistant was taking care of everything that was in place for the construction program. However, the school district also has an administrative assistant, and that administrative assistant was getting paid $24 an hour. And so when they would see my billing come in for an administrative assistant at $50 an hour, there was always a question of the discrepancy between what the individual was being paid and what I was asking for. But we have to recognize that with all labor is going to come with what we call fringe benefits. Those fringe benefits are going to take care of some of our burden and our tax. It's going to take care of insurances for unions. It may take care of vacation or any kind of apprenticeship donation that needs to happen. But understanding that the hourly rate that's being shown is only the amount that that person is going to have on their paycheck that then is going to be deducted from those fringe benefits. The contractor or the owner is going to have a markup on top of that for payroll burden. So all of the overhead that they have in place that's going to be organizing timesheets, that's going to be making the checks out, that's going to be signing the checks, all of this is extra effort in making sure that that person gets paid. So when we're looking at labor costs, we're not just looking at the hourly rate that that person is taking home, but we're looking at the overall picture of the cost of what it takes to run this company by employing that labor. Estimating labor costs is crucial for a project. Understanding the different types of labor and how those are going to apply to your particular construction project is going to be critical. In the skill builder that we have with Construction Management Online, we're able to help take you through all of the complexities that you need to know in order to put an estimate together. So, I would love to be able to be your mentor on this journey of you becoming a construction manager and ask you to go to our website at Construction Management Online.